Hello, everybody. Thursday night means it, or it's not even Thursday night tonight. We get an early episode of the Hammer and Nail show tonight. It's a Wednesday night edition of it, and it's episode 25 tonight. How you doing, Jesse?
Even though the day is different, you still remember the episode number. I am truly amazed with you, Jack.
Well, I got big number 25 written down here so I don't forget. You know, trying to keep up with Questlove from the Tonight Show, and my job's not as hard as his because he's got a show every night. So,
Right.
um, but lots to talk about tonight. I know from our conversations on Twitter and
Yeah.
and stuff, and no, folks, that wasn't just to set up the show tonight, but that's one of the fun things that Jesse and I, we don't hold back as far as our thoughts when we're on Twitter or when we're even together like this, and we
Yeah.
try to keep it. And the cool part about it is we try to keep it friendly in terms of there's no name calling or any of that kind of stuff. We just get after each other with our, and that's fun. That's part of what makes this
We
show
save
what it
that for
is.
text. We save that for text. I'm like, you're stupid. And you're like, no, you are.
Yeah, yeah, I know you are, but what am I? And so no, it's fun, and this was a game that I think brought out a lot of thoughts from lots of different angles on the 49ers this season,
Yeah.
and we'll attack some of that tonight as we go through the show. It's going to be a little bit different. We're going to free flow a little bit more than maybe we have in some of our other shows, but Jesse and I usually do a pretty good job of that anyway. So we'll get started. What are your thoughts on the game?
Man, that's a loaded question, Jack.
Sure, I know it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, it's a loaded question, and it's like now that I'm a couple days removed from it, and I'm just looking at it more clearly. I wrote down my notes throughout the game, and I'll start with some of the positives. Right, Aziz Al Shair is really good. Like that's one of the things that I remember like bullet pointing. Like this kid is good. I like him a lot. The special teams is much improved over the last few years. It is no longer a net zero. It is definitely a positive for the 49ers. But man, I just feel like Kyle Shanahan has regressed. I feel like this offense has regressed. And watching it, I feel like this. And then, you see stats come out where they're only averaging 4.5 yards per play, which is zero point 0.2 less than what the Jets averaged last year with Gase being at the helm. It's frustrating, because the other thing is this is I can't figure out what the identity of the team is, right? Like going into the season, we knew it was run the ball, play defense. Well, the defense isn't playing that great. They aren't running the ball well. And we know that, Jimmy's fine, but that's it. Like Jimmy's just fine. So it's like I still don't know what the identity of this team is. And I don't know how good this team is. So there's I guess I left this game with more questions than what I expected to leave the game with. I think also there's a lot of frustration from just 49er fans in general because you look at this Packer team and this is a team that the 49ers blew out heavily twice in 2019. I think with the injuries that were had as far as the Packers left tackle position, their best pass rusher being out, this was a game that the trenches should have been dominated, and it was anything but that. And so there's a lot of frustration there. It's the home opener. The crowd just didn't seem to be in it. I don't know if you were there or not, but to me, like the crowd just didn't seem to come through on the telecast until Trey came in, which I thought was a little bizarre. I don't know. I guess the one theme that I will say that I left this game with is I have more questions than what I have answers, and that's not something that I had hoped for going into this game.
Yeah, I left this game with a lot of frustrations. Um, I was there. I was in the press box and whatnot, and I left the game with frustrations with where the team is. Um, but at the same time, I left it. The last thing I said before I left the stadium was, uh, I told the guy I was standing next to. I said, after the press conferences and stuff, I said this was the 49ers team that we've seen all season long, and they just played a better team tonight. They played a good quarterback for a change. That's really what it was. And you're right. The 49ers got dominated at the front of the ball on both sides of the ball. I mean, Kenny Clark and Preston Smith dominated the 49ers. They just did. They dominated the run game of the 49ers completely, taken away. And I've known for a while. I know we're only 3 weeks into the season, but I've known, especially after watching the way that they played against Philadelphia, and then it really jumped out on Sunday night. The 49ers offensive line is bad. It's nowhere near what I don't care what you see on these subscription services that people are paying money for. There is no way that this is the fifth best offensive line in football. Their center and the right guard get absolutely zero push on a regular basis in the run game if you put a man over them, which is why for 2 weeks in a row now you've seen teams line up with a man over the center and one over each of the guards because they cannot get any push. And then when it comes to the passing game, Garoppolo saved him last week in Philadelphia. The only reason he only got hit twice is because he was moving around. Uh, I know that he played bad with some of his passes, but in terms of the sacks and things like that, that's all because of his movement ability. And we saw that again play out on Sunday night. You don't have Zadarius Smith. They're lucky as heck that Zadarius Smith didn't play. I saw a stat getting ready for this game this week with Seattle. Somebody tweeted out something about how it was the number of pressures from the top three guys for the 49ers and the Seahawks, right? And it was like 33 for the 49ers and 20 for the Seahawks. Okay, that's garbage. And let me explain that. The Green Bay Packers leading into the game on Sunday night had hit the quarterback 9 times in 2 games. 9. They had 11 on Sunday night against this 49ers offense. And it's not Garoppolo. It's not Garoppolo. I mean, obviously, he makes mistakes, but the hits on the quarterback aren't Garoppolo. That's what I'm saying. They're just not good. And then you watch the routes that they're running, and that's the part where you're talking about with Kyle Shanahan maybe, is everything that they're running is underneath. Every once in a while, they might get the ball down the field or try to throw it down the field, but it's not good. Even the interception by Jaire Alexander, that's a really nice play by him. There's nobody holding him on the backside. The play design leads him right to the middle of the field. And he's an all-pro player who's got speed. The ball hangs up a little bit. He makes the play. But everything is leading him in that direction already to begin with. So it's a game. They got beat by a team that's better than they are. I don't think the 49ers are a bad team. I think they're going to be a team that's going to be able to compete in the NFC for a playoff spot. But as far as being an upper echelon team, if their offensive line doesn't get better, which I don't see a 35 or 36-year-old center getting better at this point, they're in a lot of trouble when it comes to what are they going to do in week 4.
Oh no, we lost him. Here, I'll finish that for him. What are we going to do in week 4 when they go up against Watt and Chandler Jones? I don't know what they're going to do, Jack. That's a good question. You're right. So this was a big reason, by the way, why I really wanted the 49ers to forego signing Trent Williams and bring in Corey Linsley and a serviceable left tackle. That center position is so important to this team. And Max certainly is getting people in the right places. That's fantastic. But he's clearly not the player that he was 3, 4, 5 years ago. And it is showing drastically. These teams are getting pushes up the middle, and it is causing a lot of problems for the 49ers offense. And they're not able to run the ball up the middle. They're not able to protect Jimmy up the middle. The other thing is this, it's kind of bizarre, but I noticed it and I actually tweeted about it at some point in the game. I said that Alex Mack snaps are like Jimmy Garoppolo throws. There's nothing on him. It's almost like Jimmy has to wait for the snap, and we're already a half second into the play, and the defensive line has already made their move. It's kind of strange to watch. It's something that I had never noticed when I had watched Mac before. It's just something that's popped up to me during this last game, specifically, just the way that he floats out his snaps. And again, it's probably not the end of the world, but it is something to note. There's something to that. So, Jack, I was just kind of talking about why I wanted Linsley in the offseason, and I wanted to forego going with Trent Williams. I would have rather had a serviceable left tackle and a really, really good all pro type center. And then I was talking a little bit about just the floating snaps from Mac is a little bizarre to me too. The way he just floats the snaps back there, it's almost like you're giving a defense that extra quarter second they don't necessarily need to get out in front of you. So it was just something that I noticed watching him this week.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, that was definitely, that was something that we just talked about in the film breakdown that I just got
Mm.
done doing, was the snaps. And there's times where it's just a little lollipop going back there. And there was the one that bounces to Garoppolo on a shotgun snap that he ends up having to run the ball for a
Yeah,
gain of 4,
yeah,
because of a bad snap by Mac. It's, the whole. I wrote an article on this, on the game, a little, like, kind of a film breakdown that I did before the one I did with Grant, and there's just the offense is a mess from the front back. We heard Kyle Shanahan say that today. He was asked what Garoppolo needs to do to be better in the first half and whatever first half and a half of the second quarter is usually what it's been the last couple of weeks. And he said that they need to play better defense around him, and that's what I've been saying since the game on Sunday night. I don't think that Garoppolo makes mistakes, so don't ever take what I'm saying as like I don't think he makes mistakes, and I know you don't, but I'm just saying that to the audience. Is there's a lot going on with this offense. You can There's so many people trying to blame it on Garoppolo, and it's not him. There's a part of it that's him, but this thing they have more trouble. They don't run the ball because their center and their guard cannot win man to man. That's why, and they struggle, in other areas of the running backs don't have the speed necessary to hit the edge. There was a play uh, on Sunday with a toss sweep out to the right, and it's one man's free. It's an outside linebacker or a safety, and that's a play where if you have Raheem Mostert and his speed, he's able to probably pick up 5 yards because he's going to be able to outrun that guy to the sideline, right, and turn it up. They don't have that with Sermon, so they're a little bit more bound to having to run the ball between the tackles in that area, and they just don't get any push up the middle. And and again, real quick, I'm going to just bring this up. Brian says Jimmy's limited. The defense won't fix that. That's not true. I mean, I understand that Garoppolo's limited. You know that he's limited. Everybody knows that he's limited. There's nothing that Garoppolo is doing that is causing Alex Mack and the right guard Daniel Brunskill to not be able to push the guy that's lined up, the defensive lineman that's lined up from them. They don't move them. It's all if those guys line up over the top of them when the ball's snapped, that's where they stay until the play's over with, if they don't blow them back. And that's really what I'm getting at there.
yeah. I think you said defense, but you said defense around him, meaning like the protection around him, not the actual defensive unit, right? You're talking about things that are going on around him, and you're right. Like there's no point in being frustrated with Jimmy unless you expected Jimmy was something different than what he really is, right? We have been talking about Jimmy's limitations. We've talked about how it wasn't just his injuries is the reason to why they traded up to 3. There's a lot of limitations that Jimmy has. This is nothing new. Kyle knows what his limitations are. So scheme better around him. We know that Jimmy's not going to stretch the field vertically and horizontally past 10 yards. So with that limitation, then why would you still run all of your routes in the middle of the field within a field view, like broadcast television view? That shouldn't happen. Why on crucial third downs are you bringing all the wide receivers in tight next to the line? You can spread them out horizontally. Like it doesn't mean that you have to throw it horizontally, but you can spread the defense out and open up some of those windows for them.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a big issue with Kyle Shanahan's play calling. I just feel like right now Shanahan is a much bigger problem. Whether it's Garoppolo you're frustrated with, D'Amico Ryans that you're frustrated with, the lack of depth at corner that you're frustrated with, time management, all of this funnels back up to the top of the pyramid, which you guessed it is Kyle Shanahan. So your frustration overall should be with Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, I mean he's the one that ultimately everything resides with him because he's the head coach, right? And it's his fault that Alex Mack is on the team. It's his fault that his right guard is Daniel Brunskill, right? I mean, it is.
Yep.
It's his
It's his
fault
fault
that
that Jimmy is playing. It's his fault D'Amico Ryans was brought
uh,
in as a first year coach, and they didn't even interview anybody else. And they think this is a Super Bowl winning team, yet they're going to bring in a guy that it's not D'Amico's fault. Like, D'Amico's going to have growing pains in the position. That is natural. Like, everything ultimately goes back to Kyle. So whatever you're mad at, you
yeah.
got to redirect it on Kyle a little bit.
No, obviously to an extent. I'm going to continue to push back on the Garoppolo piece because I don't think he's as big of a problem as everybody's making him out to be. And part of the reason that he's being made out to be the problem is because of what they did in the draft this year, and the fact that he's been injured the last couple of years and they lost the Super Bowl and all that kind of stuff, right? But they didn't lose the game on Sunday night because of Garoppolo, although he contributed to it. They lost the game because the whole team failed. At one point or another, every unit on that defense failed. Every unit on the offense failed. And when I say units, I'm talking about offensive line, quarterback, running backs, receivers. At some point in that game, every unit of the team failed, and that's why they lost. I know. Let's just kind of take the game from the start back
Yeah.
because the what everybody wants to say is that the defense had to hold up for Jimmy. Okay, so let's think about that for a second. The first possession of the game, the third play of the game, is a 42-yard completion down the sidelines. That's almost a touchdown. It puts the third play of the game. The Packers are in scoring position. The Niners are lucky that they didn't get a touchdown there, but that was because Nick Bosa went off for 3 plays in a row. Really, I mean, he had made a really nice play on the little screen where he batted it up. Um, the next play, he does a great job getting inside the tackle, and they grab his face mask, so it's 15 yards backward again. And then he does a great job on the stuff the running back before they run a little screen and kick the field goal. Cool. The offense gets a first down. They move the ball a little bit. They don't go very far. They get, I don't know, they get about ends up about.
No. Jack's having connection issues. Oh, man. I was just getting into it too. Just getting into the game, remembering everything that went horribly wrong. Well, I'll say this. I'm on a little bit different wavelength than Jack. I don't put it all on Jimmy. Again, this is what I expect from Jimmy. Jimmy has limitations. He cannot push the ball down the field. He cannot stretch the field horizontally past 10 yards. These are things that we know. So I'm not that frustrated with him, although I do give him, some of the blame for sure. But again, to me, it really does all go back to Kyle. Kyle's play calling has been vanilla. Kyle, his decision making. Let's talk about that for a second. So 4th down and 1, right at the 50 or right across the 50. He said the reason that he didn't go for it there is because he thought that they lost yards on the run and he didn't know exactly how far they had to go. Does that sound like a coach to you that knows what the hell is going on? Does that sound like a leader to you that is paying attention to the game and the way that he needs to be paying attention to all facets of the game? Sure doesn't to me. Then later on, you run 2 crazy good plays, the 4th and goal to Lance, and then the other one where Lance came in and Juszczyk took the quarterback sneak. You had both of those plays in your arsenal, yet you didn't use it on 4th and 1 when you were already down 10-0 and then ultimately went down 17-0 because of it. That's mind-boggling to me. And then it gets even worse. You end the game, you've got 42 seconds on a running clock. You've got 12 seconds left on a play clock. Jimmy G snaps it with 12 seconds left. They hit Juszczyk on the slant. Juszczyk gets in. If they had ran that clock down to even 5 seconds left on the play clock, which would have brought the game clock to 35 seconds at snap, that game's over. It's absolutely over. And I put that on Jimmy, but I put it more so on coach. You have until 15 seconds in the play clock to be in your quarterback's ear. Why? Why are you not telling him? take the clock down. We've got time, no reason to rush, and go out and make a play. Then you get into the situation where the Green Bay Packers have the ball with 37 seconds left, the final completion to Davante Adams. That completion, if you look at it pre-snap, Jimmy Ward is pointing something out. He's talking to Dante Johnson, and you can tell that they're out of sorts. Remember that the 49ers at this time have 3 timeouts. Okay. The defense is completely out of sorts. You're going against a former league MVP from last year, and you don't call a timeout to let your defense just rest and do things like, I don't know, you've got Lenore, who's a rookie, you've got Hafunga, who's a rookie, and both of them are on the side of arguably the best receiver in the game, Davante Adams. Both of them are over there. You don't think that you might want to call a timeout and say, listen, we're bracket covering. Lenore, you need to play a trail technique. Hafunga, you need to watch everything over the top. And Davante Adams cannot get the ball here. Instead, ball gets hiked. Jimmy Ward's still lost. He, quite frankly, could have been burned on his own guy because he was running behind him. And Davante Adams just runs under soft squat coverage. Just so you know, that play was man. It was not any sort of prevent defense they were running. It was supposed to be man with 2 safeties over the top. Yet you've got 2 rookies over there, both playing way too far off, and Adams just taking candy from a baby. Runs a deep route, stops right where he needs to, gets the ball, game over. To me, it's on Kyle. Like that's where my frustration comes in. You know, we can talk about clock mismanagement in the Super Bowls. We can talk about clock mismanagement in this game. Heck, I was on this same show last week talking to Jack about clock mismanagement in the first freaking half. And I know Jack disagreed with me, but the way that I saw it was they took 3.5 minutes to go about 40 yards against the Eagles to end that first half. Then in the next 20 seconds, they score. To me, that was a clock mismanagement. And then we fast forward to what I just talked about in the Green Bay game. That was a clock mismanagement, in my opinion. So those are the frustrations. That's why I pin most of it on Kyle Shanahan. Jack, let's walk through the game.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, guys. It's crazy how this thing doesn't work sometimes. But so you're going through all the stuff with Shanahan and the issues.
I was just talking about why I walked through all the steps throughout the game, and you and I can talk about it as we go throughout the game. I'll kind of stop you and say, hey, that's where I took issue with what Shanahan did or didn't do. I was just talking about basically he doesn't have an overarching control of the team. There's quotes that back that up. There's things that happen throughout the game that back that up. And I was just kind of walking through that with everybody.
Oh yeah, no, he's not without blame. That's for sure. He's definitely not. I think the defense is getting a pass because the fact that the offense is struggling so much in the beginning of the game. That's all.
Pinor says it's cool, Jack. Jesse's just manipulating our minds.
Yeah. Maybe you are. I don't know. Maybe I should have worried about that a little bit more. No.
And T Money says, if you guys are so smart, why aren't you applying for head coach? It's not about that, T Money. It's not about saying that I'm smarter than Kyle Shanahan or even that Kyle Shanahan's not a good coach. That's not it. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm saying is just because you have criticism for a team, coach, players, it doesn't mean you're a hater. It doesn't mean you're not rooting for them. It's just being real. Like, remove yourself from the situation and look at things without your fan goggles for just a minute. This train right now is not perfect. It's not aligned on the tracks. And we're talking about why that is and some things that need to improve. That's just really what it comes down to. I definitely want Shanahan to do well. I want this team to win, but they didn't. And these weaknesses, by the way, are not coming up because of a loss. These are the same weaknesses that I brought up last week in a win. So, that's it.
Oh no, and you're right. Some of these weaknesses are the same things that you know, we were talking about last week against Philadelphia, right? The
Mm-hmm.
running game, the lack of run defense was something that I've been talking about
Yep.
going back to week one. I know you and I got into a little on Twitter about, because Swan Song asked if there should be any worry about the running game with Aaron Jones this week, and I said, yeah, there definitely should be, because the 49ers run defense isn't good, and we saw that play out. The worst thing that the 49ers defense, when they get into their wide nine, they cannot stop the run, and it doesn't matter who the defensive linemen are. I know people want to say that Javon Kinlaw is a good run defender, and he is when they're not in when they're in the wide nine. He's not. That he just gets pushed around like everybody else. He does a good job when they put him over the center, but when they play wide nine, he gets pushed around just like everybody else does.
Yep.
And they give up a free 5 yards pretty much every time that they do that. And so that's the issue there, and that just kind of sets up second and short, or third and short, and that's when you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers, he's able to eat when you do that. Uh, so I look at this game, and like I said earlier, it's a total team loss. I can show I could show you film, and if you don't want to care, if you don't want to watch it, or if you're going to watch it and you don't want to pay attention to the analysis, you're not going to get anything out of it, because Grant and I just went through this whole thing on the other, on his channel, and
Mm-hmm.
I think if you watch the offense, you can see that Garoppolo played a pretty good game last week. He played a much better game than what people are giving him credit for. The offense just doesn't have, and I think the reason that I say that, and I think the reason that Grant said it on the show, is the safeties aren't sitting at 10 yards because it's Jimmy Garoppolo. The safeties are sitting at 10 yards because there's nothing in the Shanahan offense that takes them outside of the box. They run. They run. You okay over there?
Yeah, I'm good. I don't know what that was.
they run. They run. They run so much stuff that's inside of 10 or 15 that they don't really have to line up at 15 yards or further back. They can line up at 10, and even with their first couple of steps in a back pedal, they're at 15, and they still have everything in front of them. So that's not a problem really there. Um, I don't know. I know that I have a feeling that for whatever reason, there's a lot of people that are thinking that I'm bailing out or trying to bail out Garoppolo, and I bring that up because of something that was said on the show I did Monday night. But I'm not. I'm just trying to be objective with this thing, and uh, like I said, I've told you, I'll tell everybody, he's a flawed quarterback that plays very good. He's playing within his skill set, and he's doing a good job of playing within it. And
Yeah.
the 49ers offensive line isn't helping him out at all. The 49ers running game's not helping him out at all. And you made a good point earlier about the comments that Shanahan made, saying that he needs help around him. But I think that's true with every quarterback. I think even a guy like Aaron Rodgers, he needs some help around him
For
too.
sure. For
You know,
sure. Yeah.
the fact,
Everybody needs help. Yeah.
but and you can't compare Garoppolo to Rodgers. They're
No.
not on the same. They're not on the same plane. But I'm just saying, quarterbacks need help from other players.
Of course. Nobody can win it on their own. Deshaun Watson was a perfect example of that last year. So
Yeah.
that's the reality. But sometimes things aren't going to go perfect. And when they don't go perfect, you have a quarterback that can flip things around, right? And right things. And Garoppolo is just not that guy. And again, that's not some sort of knock. It's just it is who he is. So to get frustrated about it, or to expect anything different, unless you're just now coming to this realization, it shouldn't frustrate you. Like this, he played exactly like he is. His advanced stats this year are exactly what they were in 2019, right? Like he doesn't take a lot of chances downfield. He has a high turnover rate despite that. If you look at his total touchdowns this year of what he is on pace for versus total turnovers, they're almost identical to 2019. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is the player that he is, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can win with that, but everything around him has to be perfect. And in 2019, for the most part, it was perfect. And this year it's far from, and so that's why the team is going to struggle more. And so people are all of a sudden pointing out these deficiencies that Garoppolo has as if they haven't always existed. That's what blows my mind.
Yeah, yeah. There's parts to it. Did you want to? I know you and I went back and forth on a couple of plays today. Did you want to do some of the film stuff?
Yeah, let's do that
Do
because
you want to
there's
see
a
if we
couple
can get
plays
into
that
it?
you and I need to hash out for sure.
Well, let's see if we can do this without it. My computer
Oh, a dump
taking
on you?
a wahooey on me again. But I shut everything else down, so I don't have any other programs running. So maybe that'll work out better this time. Let me see if I can get it going here. Hold on. Let me clear off our screen a little bit. It's just it'd just be that one, I guess, right?
Yeah, perfect.
Oh, yeah, because that one takes us out. So let's just go to this one just for now, because that other one I don't like, the StreamYard one. So let's go here. Why is it not showing up? I'm sorry. It's having trouble. See, my computer's jacked up today. It was just running when we were doing this earlier, but because I know you and I talked about, you and I were going back and forth on a couple of throws down in the inside. So here we go.
Hey,
Cool.
there it is.
So let's bring up each one, and then we'll go through some other stuff if we have time.
Yeah, that's fine.
Let's do the. Do you want to do the Trey Lance play first?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. So it's at 50, right around 54 seconds. And this is the red zone play where they brought him in. Let's just leave it right there. This is the. Don't worry about this one. They stop him short. So now it's going to be what's the down and distance on this one?
I don't remember. Is it like third? Third? I don't remember if it was a third down play or what.
Yeah, I don't remember either. Second down. And you're right on this one. I didn't see it from the full view. I only saw what I was looking at on my little phone on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
But as I watched it today, so my thing on this one was we're using this as what I said was what I responded to was this becoming the fact that this is the regular season and it's going to make it easier for Lance because it's the regular season and so on, that he's going. And I said, well, it's still an incompletion, and it's they get bailed out by you're going to see the guy on the outside grabs. You can't see my clicker, but you're going to see the guy grab Kittle. And my argument was that it's still an incomplete pass. They get the first down on it.
I think everybody's saying it's super blurry. Why don't you take yours down and I'll see if I can share mine real quick.
Is it really blurry?
Yeah, they're saying that they can't really see it.
Okay, that's fine.
I've usually got it. I just don't know if I can share screen on your thing. That's the only issue I have.
Yeah, because usually with the files, it's not as bad. Take that out.
See. Hold on a second. Share with me. Boom, boom, boom. And 49ers offense. Okay, so I've got it pulled up. I just don't know if y'all can see it.
No, we can't because we can't.
Not yet. Well, let me see. Hold on. Let me share.
Do you have the ability to do it?
Share screen. Chrome tab.
Real quick, Dre says, Jack, ask Grant how he sets up to look crystal clear. Well, he's got a better setup than I do anyway. That guy makes more money than me, so he's got it. Okay, here we go.
Y'all probably can't. Can you see it?
Yeah, can you make it? Can you hit
Yeah, I'll make it bigger. Here we go. Boom. Okay, so hopefully that's clear for everybody or will be clear. So let me go to it. I'm going to go to Trey's play first. It is at 28:30, I believe. Let's do it right here.
This is the Garoppolo one?
This is the Lance one.
The Lance one. Okay. Yeah. And you were right with what you were saying. My thing is I don't see an incomplete pass as a big one. And part of it is the fact that he's getting grabbed from behind as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He's got two choices here. He's got a choice to throw it or run it. He's getting grabbed from behind. He's way faster than Garoppolo. But look at this is the difference between playing North Dakota State and playing in the NFL. That's a defensive end. That was a defensive end of the Big Ten who's running him down and pulling the back of his jersey. And so when you're arguing with me and you're not because my thing was, he grounds it, right?
Yeah.
It's a bad ball.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that that's because he threw it into he's getting grabbed. You guys, you're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
He's getting grabbed, and that's part of why that ball ends up where it does.
Yeah.
But let's just take it out. I mean, he's getting tackled by a defensive end. The cornerback Alexander's there to make the play. He's not going to get into the end zone. He gets bailed out by the PI call, which is fine.
Yeah.
I just don't see it. I don't see that. I don't see this as an example of a play that sets him above at the top.
I guess. Yeah. I guess what I'm trying to say, Jack, is just look at everything before the snap, right? And this is kind of what I'm talking about. Like whether the play fully worked or not. And here's the Jimmy play right before. Whether the play fully works or not, what I see some exotic things pre-snap, which I'm not. I don't know if that's just Kyle like doesn't. If it's a Jimmy thing, I'm not blaming Jimmy, right? But for some reason, when Lance comes in, things get exotic again. Things start to open up, and we can say, "Hey, look, he was bailed out by a penalty." But I think the one that we're about to play for Jimmy, he was also bailed out by a penalty. Ultimately, what I can say is Trey was he in for 3 snaps this game?
He was.
Okay, so 3 snaps. One was a touchdown on a 4th and goal. One was this one where they get a penalty, gifted or not, ends up being a first down. And the other one, I know it wasn't him that did anything, but the exotic play with Juszczyk where he turns into the quarterback because they're expecting Trey to run, I'm sure. And so they're able to pick up an easy first down. All 3 plays resulted in first downs. And so I guess what I'm trying to get across is no matter what, I get that it sometimes looked really bad in the preseason. I understand that. But when you start getting exotic with your plays, which we did not see any of this stuff in the preseason, that's where I think that the game would get easier for Lance. And regardless of whether the play's completed, what they do is exactly what I said that they should do. Roll him out one way or another, give him a high-low read and a chance to run. That's exactly what this play does. He's got a high-low read. He's got his low read here in Sermon. He's got his high read, which I think was Kittle getting mauled, but he also has Ayuk, and he has a chance to run. You're giving him 3 options. You're making it very, very easy on him. So for a quarterback, it's funny to me that for a quarterback that you don't trust, and I'm not saying you, I'm saying Shanahan and the team, it's really weird to me that you're giving him the ball in the most critical situations. 4th and goal, inside the 10-yard line repeatedly, 3rd and 1. Why is he getting the ball in these critical situations if he's not trusted? That's the only question I have.
Okay. And I'll answer that. I don't think it's that they don't trust him all the time. These are plays that are fairly simple. Mm-hmm. They're not asking him to do a whole lot.
I agree.
And you can't play a full 60 minutes of this kind of offense. And I think that's partly why. So they put him in situations where they know that they feel he's going to be successful. So, for example, the run that he had for the touchdown, you got to really have to kind of you need to take the play out where Juszczyk does the sneak, because that's a play that they've done that stuff with Garoppolo and Mullins and other guys and quarterback too. As far as the exotic stuff, I don't know. I mean, they were doing. They had Samuel and different guys in the backfield at times. They're motioning guys in and out. They did some things. So I don't know about that piece of it, but like I go back to on this one is it's an incompletion, and the incompletion isn't his fault. He's getting dragged down, but the fact that the guy's catching him at the end, we talk about him helping out the running game. If he hasn't gotten very many opportunities. The opportunities that he's had in the running game haven't gone anywhere. He had the 3 run plays in Detroit. He gained a yard, lost a couple yards, and I think gained a yard. I mean, he's not running through people. And that's not his fault. That goes back to the offensive line. I get what you're saying, and I think that there might become the time. Don't run the play yet here, but I think there might become a time where when he gets into the game, maybe I'll be proven completely wrong, and I'll be fine with being completely, proven wrong. Because I don't like. It's not that I don't like Trey Lance. I like him. I want him to succeed. He seems like he's a good guy, and we've talked to Coach McAvoy quite a few times, and so there's a lot to like about him from that standpoint. When I'm speaking a lot of times to it, I'm giving you, I think where Shanahan's coming from, and just my own vision of what I've seen of him at
Yeah.
practices and things like that, and why he's not playing more than he is. And then this one right here, and part of the reason why I threw this one at you, go ahead and run it,
Yeah.
wasn't, it was because of the comments that were in there where, basically saying that Garoppolo can't move. He's moving. He puts this on him. It hits him in both hands. I know it's out in front of him, but it hits Samuel in both hands. It doesn't matter if Samuel catches this ball or not, because it's an incompletion, or there's offsetting penalties on that play. So it doesn't matter if he catches that ball or not. But it's just an example of the narrative around Garoppolo not being able to move, not being able to make plays on the move, all this kind of stuff. It's just false. He's done it all throughout the year. He did it in this game, in this series right here, that you're kind of, you've kept the plays running. If
This is the rollout play here.
Yeah, and he hits him in the hands. It's not a great pass, but it's high. It's when I was talking about like where it needs to be put. That's the area that needs to be put. He needs to be put a couple of inches more to his left to put it more into his chest. But
for sure.
But
I just
it
thought
hits him.
the throw was late, and here's why. Okay, Samuel's already broke away from his guy. Right here.
Yeah.
He waits until he gets to the 10-yard line, like over by the 10, before he finally throws this ball, which I think makes it a harder throw on him, to be honest, because now he's letting the defensive lineman or linebacker get closer to him. I think that's a much harder throw, right? He waits until that's an extra 3 yards that he didn't have to waste, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Garoppolo. When you and I were talking about this, and you're saying he's throwing it late, I'm not worried about that. What I'm talking about is the window that he's throwing it into. He's not late on the window.
Yeah,
it might be. I'm putting things on him at this point, but it could be because he's, pause it real quick because I want to talk about this play too.
Yeah. Go ahead.
But it's a situation where it could be that he's trying to maybe just get around that guy a little bit, because by the time he does throw it, he is about a half a step ahead of that guy that's coming up to get him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, or it could could be that it's taken him that long for his head to kind of engage that he's going to, get the ball out of his hand.
Yeah.
But I don't have any problem with how long it takes him to throw it, because he's still getting it into the window. So when we're talking about a late throw, you and I were talking about two different things. You're talking about just where he is on the field, and I'm talking about within the windows. So it's not a late throw in the window.
No.
Even if it makes it a little bit more difficult on him, that's fine. He puts the ball in a position where the receiver should have caught it. I like the athleticism that he shows on that one. And then on this next play right here, if Ayuk just catches the ball, I don't think we're even having this conversation tonight, because he puts this on Ayuk's hands, and Ayuk drops the ball. Because if Ayuk catches this ball, Lance doesn't come in the game and score the touchdown 2 plays later.
Yeah.
And so, I think that all plays into it. And so, Shanahan's his own worst enemy with this, the way that he's playing this whole thing with these two guys, because the more successful positions he puts Lance in, the more he's going to be getting the questions from reporters about why is he not playing more. And I know that's not a perfect pass, but it's in the only place that it can be put, and it hits him in the head.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, does. It does.
And so those are just kind of some of the things that I'm thinking of, and I'm not sure.
They also got really blessed right here that this was not called intentional grounding, by the way, because this could have ran out the clock, and that would have been they would have scored nothing.
Yes, no, you're very correct, and I think the only reason they don't call it here is because he's getting hit as he's throwing,
for sure.
So they're saying that's what threw it into the ground. Yeah. So he does get a break here, because that hit right there, that's what they're saying. That the referee's got to be kind of using that as a judgment call.
Yeah. For sure.
And then the touchdown run is just a beautiful block by
Trent. Oh my gosh.
But he's Trent Williams takes out the poor guy. The guy's like half his size. And he has that ability to run around the corner like that in a situation here. This is it's a good one. I like the way really they set it up with that motion. They set it up with a motion because that brings the cornerback down to where he's going to be in position for Williams to block him. So it's a well designed play.
That's it too. That's the other thing I want to point out. So this play, right? It's it's relatively easy for him, right? Because Williams makes a hell of a block. They did a great job of cracking back on the defensive end so that Williams could get out and get one on one. But the defense knows he's running, and he still was able to get it done. And even in the Lions game where he throws the touchdown, again, you said, well, that was easy. Like that was an easy throw. I agree with that. But that was kind of my whole point, is that I felt like once you start doing these things around him, you start rolling him out, you start using play action and motions and just open things up for him and let him be who he is instead of being this pocket passer that you want him to be. I felt like the game would get easier for him. Now, that's different than saying, will he make all the throws because the game is easier, right? We saw where he regardless of whether the guy was on him, there was two guys in the end zone. We can talk about that and argue about that all day long. Quite frankly, he missed the throw. So it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean he's going to make all the throws. That's not what I'm trying to say. But what I'm saying is the game will certainly get easier for him. I get the competition will get better and now it's regular season, but you're protected better. The play designs are built around you. You're moving a lot more. They're playing to his strengths. I just felt like the game in the regular season versus what we saw in the preseason would get much easier on him. That, I guess that was my whole point.
Okay, and yeah, and no, that's fine. And the only thing I'm going to say on that as a rebuttal is, it's not really even a rebuttal, but just as a response, is part of the reason that they're doing this with him is because there's things that he struggles with, and so they're putting him in situations where he can help the team. And so I think that 49er fans need to be happy with the times that he does get into the game right now, because if they try to play him in a game, I think if he's playing the full game, he's going to struggle more than what we're seeing, or
Yeah.
than what people think. And it's not a knock on him. He's a rookie. He has a long ways to go in terms of some of the the pocket stuff. I get it. He's going to have to get some help with that. Um, and it's like I've said, I don't dislike Trey Lance. I think he's going to have potential. I think people need to just have a little bit of patience here, because everything you said is they're putting him in situations to be successful,
For
and
sure.
they're able to do that kind of stuff down in the red zone where they can dictate the matchups a little bit better than they're going to be able to do out around midfield. You know, like, and there's plays in the game where I could say that, okay, maybe Lance is going to make a play better here or there, but the overall stuff, I'm not sure if I totally agree with that.
Well, and I'll say this though too, right? Like I think if you're judging versus Jimmy, right? Can he do the things that Jimmy does? No, he can't. Like we talked about how Jimmy didn't hit Ayuk on a 10-yard out pattern last week and decided to dump it off to Debo. But that's limitations in his arm strength and trusting that. He has really good anticipation. Trey Lance doesn't have anticipation. So Trey Lance also is not hitting that throw, but for different reasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I guess my whole point is like the 49ers are a run first team. You said it yourself. This offensive line is struggling. Well, one thing you can do to help out the offensive line, and this doesn't even necessarily have to be a Trey thing. This could be a Jimmy thing. And again, it all goes back to Kyle. Roll these guys out more. Jimmy has shown that he's more mobile than what he's been in the past. Get him out on an edge and let him make easier reads and not just be a sitting target to get rushed up the middle and clobbered 11 times in a game. Like where are the boots and all those things for him? I remember watching Elder Shanahan and the Denver Broncos with Jake Plummer. The way that they moved him around, it was constant. They constantly moved Jake Plummer around. He was never a sitting duck. And that offense worked. Like it can work for either Garoppolo or Lance. So help the
Mm-hmm.
offensive line out, move either quarterback. And if this is a run first team, that kind of goes back to the Lance argument is Lance makes it easier for them to run. He may not make it easier for him to throw. He may not be better at throwing from the pocket, all those things. But
Mm-hmm.
he does make it easier to run so that, maybe you don't start him, but give him more than 3 snaps in a game because when he is in the game, it does get easier for this team to run and establish a little bit of a run game, especially with Trey Sermon, where his skill sets match up really well with Trey Lance, and they don't necessarily match up with the style of offense that they run under Jimmy. He likes to run from shotgun. He likes to do read option. That's what he's used to. So help him out a little bit. Like help this offense out a little bit. I just feel like I don't know. I just feel like Shanahan's really missing the boat in my opinion. So,
Yeah, we're on different sides of this one,
mhm.
obviously.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
You don't think they should move Jimmy a little bit more though? Like let's
yes.
remove Lance
No,
out of
that's
it.
fine. No, that's fine. I do think that there's times when you can move Garoppolo more than what they're doing for sure
Yeah.
because he can make the throws on the move. He's shown to be better at that this year. He's showing that he's better at moving around in the pocket, moving period, making plays with his legs. Um, so that's something that they can play to that
Yeah.
strength a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Chat's
keep
loving it. This is I think this is great, Jack, because you and I really do agree on a lot of the stuff that we talk about. And I love that we are on complete opposite ends of the spectrum here.
mhm.
And neither of us are gonna budge on it, right? But I think that we're both laying out our points respectfully. I think we're both laying out our points and coming with reasons why we would do it. I think it's fantastic stuff. So I appreciate that you're so respectful about it. You're so level headed about it, and we can actually have these conversations without it turning into something that it doesn't need to be. You know what I mean?
Oh no, it's fine. Yeah, no, that's what it's for. Um, and I don't know. I watched the game through a different lens. We've all had you and I have had this conversation. I had the conversation with Grant too, and it's I know I see the game through my own way of seeing the game, which I think is a little bit more along the way that the head coach sees the game,
Yeah.
given my background,
Hmm.
and I think that they're getting Trey Lance ready. He's going to be a good player for them in 2022. I think that I talked about real quick. He's not playing because he's not playing because he's not playing because of the paycheck. He's playing because of the fact that he's running the offense a little bit better than what Trey is able to do at this point. And he's also playing at this point because they're trying to develop Trey Lance. They don't want to put Trey Lance on the field and have him struggle and what that entails because here's the deal. If he goes out there, if they make that move for Jimmy, let's just say they pull Jimmy next week and they say that they're going to go ahead and they're going to start Trey against Arizona.
Hmm.
They're now riding with Trey for the rest of the year because if they put him on the bench after that, they can't pull him out. Once you make that move, that's a long-term decision and whatever. And if they put him in the game and they fail, that's the worst case scenario for the 49ers and for Kyle Shanahan. It's not about how much money Jimmy's making. They'd much rather not be paying Jimmy half of what they're paying, but the contract was written, at a time when Garoppolo stock was an all-time high. And so
It's too late. Like
it's
you
too
can't
late for
put the
that.
toothpaste back into the tube, right? Like that what is done, and he's on the team. And but I don't think the money at this point factors in. Maybe it did early on, right? Like maybe that was the initial, hey, this is week one, the team's behind him, he's getting paid the money. We can't really justify him being a backup quarterback. But
Mhm.
at this point, I don't think that's factoring in anymore, if it ever was, to be real.
Yeah, and Steve says, the quarterback has learned all 11 positions, not like a wide receiver who's just learned the
Yeah.
routes and whatever, plug and play. And I kind of tried to talk about that a little bit on my own show last week is, you know, quarterback's a different cat when you draft a quarterback because you can only play one at a time, right?
Hmm.
And so that's part of why you make this big move and I talked about this yesterday. I don't know. I'll just repeat it. I think the 49ers are building for 2022. And I think that 2021 is a placeholder year because they're up against the cap. They know that their quarterback that they're for the future is going to be a guy that's going to take some time to develop. So they can develop them. They by bringing all the you have to get going at 6:30.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Grant and I don't go until 7, so you're
By
good.
by having to by bringing all these veterans back on these short 1 year deals, they are they are able to sell to the fan base that they are trying to win now, while at the same time having a long term plan. And their long
Yeah,
term plan, I think, is 2022 and beyond. I think that's why when you look at the draft, these guys are all more projects that are going to be stepping into roles next year. The offensive line is going to be revamped in the middle of the offensive line, other than maybe center. Hopefully, they change that out too because he's old and they can move on from him. But you're going to probably have two new guards next year. You're going to have a new safety next year because Tart's not going to be back. One of these rookies is probably going to have to start at cornerback, opposite of Emmanuel Mosley. There's a rebuilding project that's going on in front of us, and I think people aren't seeing it.
Yeah, I think that they were trying to double dip, right? They were trying to remain competitive, especially for the guys that they brought back on 1 year deals. But and that was, I guess that was also one of my arguments in the beginning of why I thought Trey should start is they're not winning the Super Bowl this year. If they believe that, sitting them for 2 full years, in my opinion, is not the way to go. But they disagree, and maybe he doesn't sit for 2 full years. Maybe he plays after the bye or week 10, or I don't know. But whatever they're doing, they think this is the right move. I can disagree up and down, but it's not going to change things. It is what it is, and we just have to kind of live with it. I will say this: I feel like they missed the boat a little bit. Right? We talked about. You said it. You just said it. I think we've all said it at one point or another. But once you play Trey, you can't go back, right? Or once you start Trey is the operative word. Once you
Right.
start Trey, you can't go back.
Right.
Last week, I felt like they missed an opportunity. Okay. And here's what I mean by that. Your offense was doing absolutely nothing. Trey comes in, the fans go wild. You go into halftime, you pick up 7. That's the one scenario where you could have came out with Trey in the second half, played him all the way through. And then after the game, if you didn't like what you saw, you could have said, no, Jimmy's our starter. This doesn't change things. The offense wasn't getting going. It wasn't on Jimmy, but things weren't going the way that we expected. We figured it would be a good time to get Trey some play. And Jimmy's still our guy. We're going to start him next week. We're not changing anything. Kind of like what they did when against Miami last year, right? They just mailed it in and said, Jimmy's still a starter next week, but right now, his ankle isn't healthy. That's the one scenario where you actually could have played Trey and still started Jimmy the next week, and it wouldn't have been a big deal at all.
You talking
So,
about on Sunday night?
yeah, I'm talking about this last Sunday. Yeah. If they had
Yeah.
played him in the second half, that's the one scenario where you could have actually done that. Now, obviously, they're in the business of still trying to win that game. And they almost did. So that's the other thing that we have to understand as fans is Shanahan is going to do what he thinks it takes to win that game in that moment. That's what he's paid to do. I'm just looking at it in hindsight and going, if they had gone with Trey in that second half, they still could have gone back to Jimmy to start this week and made it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. So that was just one of those opportunities where they actually, ironically enough, could have actually made the change and still gone back, and it wouldn't have been an issue.
Yeah. And then real quick, I think it's Julio says, Jack and Jesse, can you compare offenses still first half start for week 2 and 3? Yeah, they were about as carbon copy as you could get.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
the first, against Philadelphia, the first 3 possessions, they'd run 9 plays. First 3 possessions against Green Bay, they run 9 plays. The fourth possession of the game, somewhere in the second quarter, they're able to finally move the ball past midfield. Same thing both weeks. And then they score at the end of the half. It's almost exactly the same, and the issues are very similar in both of those games. The third down call, that the third down play was shows you everything you need to know about what's wrong with the 49ers right now. They get to the line of scrimmage, the ball snapped. Nobody on the offensive line moves other than the guards because they're the ones closest to the ball. The ball snapped early. The ball's not supposed to even be snapped. The left tackle and the tight end never even come out of their 3-point stance by the time the guy's tackled because they weren't expecting the ball to be snapped. They're so out of whack and there's so much going on with this offense. And I know everybody wants to put it on Garoppolo, but there's so many things that are going on. That's why Shanahan said what he said today. I liked what he said because I've been saying it since Sunday night and I've been writing about it since Sunday night, but I just think it's the situation.
Yeah. I actually have a question for you on that play because that was really, really bad. But do you think what was going through Mac's mind there. The only thing I could think of is when he saw that shift, for some reason he thought that they had jumped off, and so he was trying to do a quick snap to get the penalty, and then realized like, oops, they didn't jump off.
No,
Or do you think it was just, hey, they were out of sync? Because it was like as soon as the shift happened, he snapped the ball, and so I was like, oh, maybe he thought he was off sides there, and so he was trying to get a penalty. I didn't know what
I
was
don't,
going through his head.
I don't know. I watched it, and when you watch it, it seems like he's rushing to the line of scrimmage, like he thinks it's supposed to be a quick snap.
Oh, okay.
Right? You see him hurry to like you see. I don't know. I haven't really paid a whole lot of attention to every time he's going to line of scrimmage, but on that one, it seemed like he was really getting up there and getting down quick, and like they wanted to go quick, or maybe Garoppolo was saying, "Let's go, let's go, let's go," like that we want to go quick here,
Yeah.
and maybe there was a miscommunication because of that. Who
Because
knows?
he actually, Garoppolo seemed ready for it. Like he didn't seem caught off guard really, but everybody else was caught off guard. It was strange.
Yeah, no, it's a there's it's just wacky. Even the I tweeted it out today partly because I need to use it for my article, but it's true. The backwards pass that cost them really in a lot of ways cost them the game. Um, is a play that's just again, it shows that the 49ers are all out of balance on offense. You've got screens are all about timing, and there's nothing about that play that shows timing. You
Yeah.
know, um, the left guard is supposed to block and release and kind of help out because they want to get that guy up the field. So because that's where the running back's supposed to go, and Garoppolo doesn't really even have a chance to get the ball out of his hand because by the time he turns around from the play fake, 97's in his face, right? So my only thing on that one is Garoppolo just got to be smart about it and let's go ahead and take the sack and
Yeah.
go ahead and just live to play the next down. I don't because I'm pretty sure he said after the game that he was trying to throw it away and he didn't realize that he had spun to where he was throwing it backwards. And
Yeah.
I can understand that, but that's just a bad it's just a bad play.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely
You know.
was, and that was a huge blunder. It's
Well,
easy to make fun of, right? Because it looked funny, and he's throwing it backwards and whatever else. But
yeah,
yeah,
it's a play where and I gotta get running, but it's a play that I know that Garoppolo comes back and he scores a touchdown on the next one. It costs him the game, right? In a way, because without those 3 points, the field, then if everything else, you gotta also assume everybody assumes that if that play doesn't happen, everything else plays out the same way it did, right? Because let's just say that doesn't happen and they score a touchdown. It's a totally different situation that Green Bay gets the ball back in. They're probably not going to get it back with only 37 seconds to go. So
yeah,
who knows how that game finishes off? But they would have had to score a touchdown instead of a field goal to win it. And I don't know if they would have been able to do it because
for
the
sure,
defense had been playing okay.
for
But
sure.
shoot, that last defensive series was just awful defense too.
Yeah, it was.
There's so much that we can get into, and
There is. Let's do this while we get out. Don't need a score prediction. Just flat out, do the 49ers win this week or not?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay. I'm going to say no, but I'm going to put an asterisk in there. If Mitchell and Norman play, I change my mind. So we'll know more tomorrow. Mitchell looks like he's probably going to play. At least there's
Yeah.
a possibility. He practiced today.
Mm-hmm.
Norman, I know, is trying to play. We probably really won't know the answer to that till Friday. If those two play, 49ers win. If those two don't play, then Seattle's winning this game. I hate to say it. So
Yeah. Well, and the reason that I'll just say real quick, the reason I have the Niners winning is they've always played Green Bay better, or Green Bay. They've always
Seattle.
played Seattle better at home than they've
Yeah,
played them in Seattle. So I'm thinking that that's going to play out. But you're right. If Norman doesn't go, I think the 49ers might be in tough with this one.
yeah. It might get bad. So yeah,
Yeah.
those are the two. I know you got to go. I obviously got to jump over to Grant's show. Heck of a show. It was definitely different than anything we've ever done. That's for sure. We freestyled a little bit, but I think it was good. We had some good open conversation. Whether you agree with Jack or I, that doesn't really matter. But you did get a little bit of an insight into our minds a little bit. So now you understand, how we think when we're watching things, what we're looking at, what stands out to us, and it's very different. But maybe my way or Jack's way resonates with you, and that's cool. And maybe you changed your mind about something today. So I thought that was a lot of fun, Jack. I appreciate that. And, we'll see what happens this weekend.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. And I appreciate everybody jumping on. Um, to different night than we normally do this. Just
Yeah,
some scheduling things. We had to change it, and I appreciate everybody coming on. And like Jesse said, we're not going to agree all the time, and that's what makes the show fun.
exactly. So make sure that you are subscribed to Jack's channel. Give him some love. Hit the bell notification. Give him a like on this one. It helps the algorithm. And if you are not subscribed to Last Second Sports, go over there. Show me some love. I would appreciate it. Just type in Last Second Sports. We'll pop right up. And until next week.
Take care, guys.